And good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael in this afternoon for Judy Simpson. Like many aspects of agriculture, owning a horse means a lot of work. And the reward for all that hard work is a lot of fun, whether it's for pleasure riding or competitive riding. If you're a non-horse owner or rider like me, it means you don't have to do the work, but the fun part is that we get to watch and see the amazing things that trained riders and horses can do together. And that's what we're going to get to see today. It's part of a preview to the 12th annual Everything Equine and Canine event coming up April 25th and April 26th at the Champlain Valley Expo in Essex Junction. Joining me this afternoon to start things off is UVM Extension Equine Specialist Betsy Green, and also wearing a hat as the president of the Chittenden County Farm
Yes.
Bureau. Betsy, welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
There are really two parts to Everything Equine. There's the educational part. You've got workshops and seminars and all kinds of things. There's also the fun side, and that includes a series of events. One of them's called Horsing Around. But that fun side also has a serious side.
Well, yeah, because the fun side is Vermont families get to watch all of this breeds, disciplines of horses and dogs doing incredible things. Oh yeah, and the trainers, handlers, and riders, but you know, they come for the animals. And while that's
that's fantastic.
And while that's going on and everything's happening, the half of the net proceeds from that show go to support programs for equine and other agriculture in the state through Chittenden County Farm Bureau. It's sponsored by Chittenden County and UVM Extension. And
so there's a number of things that you've been able to do as a result of that, projects and whatnot, from what I understand?
Oh, absolutely. Some of the things that we've done last year, actually, we purchased as a county 2 rollover protection devices for some farmers in Vermont, somewhere in Vermont, to help them, because having one of those bars or rollover ROPS, as they call them, can make an incredible difference between life or death in the case of an accident. We have also done things like, we've learning book barns. I don't know if you're familiar with those. We have one at Shelburne Farms that's a permanent one, and because that's a great place because so many people and kids are coming through, and it's farm books, agriculture books, from maple to chickens to horses, videos. We even purchased some tractors, small tractors and things to go in so that youth are getting exposed to agriculture. And we have another one that's traveled around and parked at places. So we've done that. And of course our horse farm of distinction that we started in Chittenden County, and it has, as a pilot, and it's now open to anybody in the state. And of course our last year's award winner was Arbrook Farm and John and Alice Burgoyne, and
we've had them with us on Across the Fence.
Yes.
Speaking of awards, the types of things that you've been able to do have earned awards for the Farm Bureau.
Yeah, our county, in fact, has just done a three-peat. I guess that's probably registered, but we actually have won the Outstanding County 3 times in a row because a small group of folks stepping up, doing a whole lot of things for agriculture, helping agriculture and the industry, the folks associated with it.
You can call that the Triple Crown, then.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
right. There you go.
Briefly, how does Extension fit in with the Farm Bureau connection?
Well, as a state equine extension specialist, and of course that's half of my position, we actually have, as you well know, we've been flat funded for years, so there's always, how can we find the funds to do these? Well, the way that I've done that is to partner with, collaborate or associate with lots of folks throughout the state. And I was asked to become a participant in the Chittenden County Farm Bureau, and suddenly I've been the president for the last few years.
These things happen.
These things happen. But it's been a great partnership because we have a lot of mutual goals, and we've worked with the Agency of Ag, we've worked with all sorts of folks, Vermont Horse Council, who we'll be with later, to do some things like our public service announcement that was a partnership between the three organizations. So it's just a win-win situation because we can get more done when we have the collaborations.
We promised our viewers that we get to take a look at some of the fun that takes place in at Horsin Around. So we have a series of clips, and Everything Equine and Canine, which became last year. This is the 12th annual now. Give us a little sense of some of the things that we're seeing in this video and some of the clips that our director Lee Harnois is going to put on the air for us.
Sure. So this is from last year's Horsin' Around, and it's Horsin' Around on Saturday night, but it's gone to the dogs too. So here we have the horse against the dog, and we have Pam Bartlett with her dog and Madeline Austin with one of her horses doing the "Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better." That's the music that's playing in the background, and of course, I don't think Madeline has her horse between her legs. She can't necessarily have it dancing like the dog does. But they just had a great time just trying to one-up each other with the stuff. And then we have Andrea Waldo doing jumping. She's at Triple Combination Farm. They've actually hosted some of our stewardship workshops and things as well. And she has this little, I think she calls it her Ferrari. This little horse, he's not that big a horse, but boy, he has a big horse mentality, and he loves to jump, and she events him. And so she got to show some high fences and stuff, and the crowd was very pleased with watching this one. Yeah, and it's just really neat to see the different
that's actually
things.
a name that has come up, and I'm not quite placing it, but that's somebody that you've brought in and shared with us before?
Yeah, she has stressless riding.
Yeah,
And
well, this is anything but stressless. Just seeing it, amazing, and it's gonna get even faster here in just a minute, folks. But again, the thrill of being able to, here we
bing,
go,
bing, 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 bing.
to watch and see and to know the work and dedication that went in to be able to do this between an owner and an animal. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, and it's just, I called that the Dog Olympics, because it was just so fun. And they actually it was kind of a comedy too, because they had some folks that were working with dogs that they didn't usually, and so there were some times when one dog from the one course went and visited the other. That was quite fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh, there is another piece you also brought in, and again, these videos are from a year ago as we look ahead to this year. So in 2014, you also brought in a horse trainer and author who was also part of an act of last year's Horsing Around. And who was that?
Yeah, Chris Lombard. He actually wrote Land of the Horses, a true story of a lost soul and a life found, but you can see he definitely has a connection with his horse. He'd better, since there's no connections with tack or bridle or anything like that.
And as I've acknowledged, I'm not a rider, but I do know how, this compounds the difficulty. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Now, when I saw this clip earlier in prepping for the show, I was curious, the piece in his hand and the piece on the end, that's not something we normally see. So give us a sense of what's going on with that.
So that's like a training, it's not quite a lunge whip, but it's a training whip, and it has a bag, and a lot of times the natural horsemanship type folks use those as cues. And you see he's got, the horse would normally shy from something like that.
That's what I was getting at, yeah.
And the whole point is he's desensitized the horse to that, but also taught it to be a cue response mechanism.
Okay. Which has become even more important. Again, there's a little bit of time left on the video, and that particular tool, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, this is really going to come here. You can tell us a little bit more about maybe even just the degree of difficulty of doing something like this.
Well, I mean, if you look at a horse that has no restraint whatsoever, and he's standing there doing everything against that horse's instinct, he would be running with that whip. So it's something, a little bit extreme for the average horse person.
Extreme, and I must say very impressive. And that is a segue. Speaking of extreme and impressive, we're just getting really started with that. Joining us now is Doug Smith of the Vermont Horse Council. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Will.
Now, we've asked you to be with us today. Speaking of impressive and extreme, the Extreme Trail Challenge. It's another part of the fun side of horsemanship and some of the things that occur in everything equine and canine. Yep. So tell us about the Extreme Challenge.
The Extreme Challenge is basically an obstacle course. It's loosely based on a trail course you might see if you went to a horse show. We've made some changes to make it more exciting, we think, such as having time limits on each obstacle, scoring the overall time that person takes on the course itself. There's unique obstacles that you would never see at a horse show. And this is all while maintaining key factors such as horsemanship and safety.
And some of the things you're talking about, again, we're seeing some pictures from last year.
Right.
And again, that idea that we as viewers, we've seen some of this stuff before. You started to talk about we've loosely built this off of other things. I got to tell you, if I come across a channel and things like that are on, it's fascinating to watch.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
It's a ton of fun.
It's fun for the people watching. It's fun for the participants also.
Now, easy to describe, easy to see on the air. It's not so easy to do. This is something that's going to take just a little bit of practice.
It does. When somebody enters the competition, we send them what the course is going to look like, what the obstacles are, and we try to make it a little bit different each year. Yep. So if people came year after year, they wouldn't see the same thing.
So again, this was a year ago, but just fill us in quickly. What was the part of the challenge last year, the sort of theme?
The theme last year was, we called it Pony Express. Yep. Where the
delivering the mail.
Delivering the mail. A Pony Express rider has to deliver the mail. You can see in that picture there's saddlebags. They pick up the saddlebags of the mail and deliver it along the course.
And what about this year's theme, Doug?
This year we changed it. It's going to be Medieval Times meets the Old West. Okay. So every year we try to come up with something different.
You gave me some notes, jousting as an example.
Right. It won't be with actual jousting spears, but it'll be something similar where jousting, and I can list off some of the other things.
Yeah, another one was sword play. I mean, these are things that, you know, I think of Shakespeare, and now you're adding horses.
Right, right. And so the sword play where the contestant has to hit a shield with a sword, using a flail, which is like a stick with a chain and a ball on the end of it, like old medieval times, and they're going to have to knock over a barrel with that, just to prove that their horses won't spook over an event, something like that.
Knock over a barrel and stay on their horse.
Exactly.
I know you're both going to tell me when I ask this. You know, it obviously takes a lot of practice, but this is so much about the relationship between the rider and the horse. So when you start introducing things flying in the air and swords, jousts, water buckets, again, I'm not sure what really the question is. These things aren't easy to do.
Yeah.
Right, they're not. That's why I send them ahead of time what is going to happen. So if they want, they can have a chance to prepare for this, because most horses would not do this without some preparation.
Yeah. And I think if you look at some of the things that you saw in Chris Lombard's, I bet his horses would be really, really good at this, because the training, he's doing all kinds of desensitizing and everything to help them do things that are not within their normal nature of fight or flight. But you have to practice these things, and you have to practice something very close to whatever is going to be at the show, because you add in going into the show with a crowd and everything else, and all that practice, you put the time in, but it might not necessarily work the same way as it did at home.
A friend of mine is a very good competitor in these type of events, but her horse does not do well when there's a crowd around.
Well, that's the other added factor. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. Couple of minutes left. There are bragging rights at stake, but there are also prizes.
There are. Right now, the top prize will be $1,000 for first place, $600 for second, $400 for third, and we go down through sixth place. And we also have prizes and gifts that we give to every competitor, just for having the guts to come in there with their horse and try to do this.
So in addition to all this fun, Betsy, there is still access, as there is every year, to horses and dogs through Everything Equine and Canine throughout the weekend of the 25th and 26th.
Yeah, we actually have both breed row for horses and breed row for dogs, and it will be both days this year. The dogs were only one day last year, so it's going to be great. Hands-on, talk to the folks.
So would you let our viewers know about dates, tickets, all that kind of stuff that we need to take care of?
So Everything Equine and Canine, April 25th and 26th at the Champlain Valley Expo, and for info, www.cvexpo.org or 802-878-5545.
And in addition to CV Expo, folks, there's a couple of places I have notes about Guy's Farm and Yard, as well as Adirondack Tack.
You can get tickets at Guy's Farm and Yard for both the events, Everything Equine and the Horse and Around.
Okay. A thrill for me to be able to visit with you guys today. And I want to thank you both for coming in. A lot of fun.
Well,
Great,
thank you.
very much.
That is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit Across the Fence.